Hello, everybody, and welcome to DMD Pathfinders' first webinar on accessible gaming. Really glad you could all join us. We'll just give people a few minutes to all get into the room and get set up on the software. We got quite an exciting program planned with information on a whole range of different ways to make gaming accessible. And we're going to be looking at console gaming, we're going to be looking at PC gaming, and we'll talk a bit about the organizations that are available to help, and yeah, basically how you can get the most out of gaming and how you can adapt that as your kind of ability changes when you have Duchenne. Okay. So yeah, I'm John Hastie. I'm the CEO of DMD Pathfinders, and I'm very passionate about gaming, and I tend to play mostly PC games. Anyway, I think a few of us are online now, so without further ado, let's get started.
Welcome to this webinar on gaming. This is hosted by DMD Pathfinders. Today I'm going to be talking about accessible gaming. Are you in control? What does gaming make it a popular hobby for many disabled people? Well, I think it's doublefold, really. Gaming is a form of relaxation and enjoyment. It encompasses quite a few different categories. It allows you a sense of escapism, being able to get out of your body that's physically limited, and it removes kind of the restrictions you find on life because you can inhabit quite a few different characters. It's also a really good social activity. You can build deeper friendships because able-bodied people can play and have the same skill level as disabled gamers, so you just feel on the same playing field. And for me, gaming is quite like a sense of adventure because you get to explore environments which in real life it wouldn't be impossible to do, and it allows you freedom of movement and ability to just move around and problem solve in these adventures you have. You kind of build these different confidence up because you may be faced with quite a lot of barriers in the game. I know they're artificial barriers, but I think mentally it opens up a lot more of your thinking ability. And that kind of ties in with getting to embody characters from different realities or kind of become superheroes or aliens or sports people. You name it, there's a lot you can really do in the gaming field. Yeah, so what are the problems within the gaming industry and issues that DMD Pathfinders want to improve, really? There's three core areas I'd say that maybe need improving. The first one is physical accessibility of handheld controllers, PlayStation 4 and Xbox controllers, because they're tactile controllers and devices, maybe it doesn't fit all hand types, or even for me, my fingers aren't stretchy at all, and many of the Duchenne boys would face similar challenges. Similar but varied, you never know. But I think the second thing, I think the game makers, they need to allow you to create your own control configurations in any game, because for me, my fingers can't use triggers very well, so I need them in another area. So yeah, that's one issue. And the third issue, I think, is more storytelling opportunities for disabled protagonists and non-stereotypical portrayals. So physical accessibility, what is the solution? Well, I think the solution may be that during the design and testing phase of any new controller, maybe people with various disabilities may need consulting, so we can advise the Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo and all the other that disabled people are a big part of the gaming society, so they can't be limited and restricted like we already are in our enjoyment and quality of life. I'm not going to talk about like personally the issues that I faced, and it is since I bought my PS4, I had a big problem with the control. I couldn't hold it, and it's just it was disappointing and a depressing time for me because gaming is a big part of my quality of life. And not being able to play, it's just frustrating and a terrible feeling. So yeah, the issues I found is pressing the options button at the top, which is quite a tiny button, and it's not very easy to press. So that is stopping and starting the game. So maybe that's quite an important button. And the other issues I had is the buttons on the analog stick. Having to press them down is impossible for me. So that was a challenge, along with really the trigger buttons were not really in a place that was comfortable for my hand. So yeah, these problems like placed unnecessary barrier on my enjoyment. I found a lovely charity called Remap that adapt devices for disabled people for free. They're ex-engineers, so they were really, really helpful, and I'm glad I called them to solve my control problems. And I think can be pretty good for a lot of other problems like people may face. Okay, so as you can see here, this is my adjusted control. You can see those gold sticks. Therefore, pressing the analog sticks down. So instead of pressing it, I just tap them. So that kind of really freed my arms up to access all the buttons. And then they molded the back triggers just so they're a bit more comfortable on my hands. Okay, so another issue, button customization. Is it a simple solution? Well, there have been quite a few games recently that have added accessibility options which allowed gamers to customize their controls and certain other important parts of the game. The game I'm talking about here is Uncharted 4, Thief's End. It's a game on PlayStation 4 and it allowed a range of disability options. In first-person shooter games, you have to hold down LT to get your, so you can aim and then fire on it with R2, but I can't really press those buttons together. So one of them, it allowed them to toggle L2 so you don't have to hold both down, which is really good. And also when there's quick time events, when you have to quickly press triangle, which I can't do, instead of pressing it, you just have to hold it, which is brilliant for someone with limited movement.
Great, thank you, Vivek. That's really, really interesting. What I'm going to do now is have a look at the kind of PC gaming side of things. So PC gaming offers quite a lot of benefits in terms of making games more accessible. So for a start, there's a far wider range of peripheral controllers that you can use. So anything, from mice to keyboards to controllers, and there's a whole range of different ones that suit different needs. And there's also a wide array of software options, so programs that you can use to remap keys, to automate functions such as creating macros to do certain complex tasks, and also to integrate additional control devices, so things like switches of various kinds. Then, as well as that, there's easier integration with the existing assistive technology. So Windows has lots of programs that can make things easier. So things like voice recognition, things like on-screen keyboards, that kind of thing. They're already in Windows, so seamlessly integrate into games. So one big thing for me is being able to socialize when I'm gaming, so I need to have the on-screen keyboard in order to be able to type messages to other gamers. And I think the beauty about PC gaming is that there's there's an accessibility solution for everyone. So even if you've still got a lot of mobility in your arms and hands, then maybe all you need is an ergonomic keyboard or mouse. But as you begin to lose function, then you need more and more. But I think you can play a PC whether you've got full movement in your arms and hands, or whether you can only move a few fingers, or even if you can only move your head, or in fact twitch your face. So there's a whole lot of options out there. So just to give you a bit of an example of some of the peripherals out there, I mean, your high-tech gaming keyboard can often be massive things like this, which can be useful for gamers, but only if you've got full kind of range of movements. So they're probably the least accessible. Then you've got the kind of mini gaming keyboard. So this one on the bottom here is the one that I use regularly. It served me very well. It fits your hand quite well, so you don't really need to move very much to control different things. And it's also got a inbuilt like software that comes with the keyboard, which allows you to remap all the keys and create macros and that kind of thing. So one thing that I like to do, particularly for games that have come from consoles, it's quite common that in order to progress the game, then you need to mash a button or move a joystick in a certain way, which can be very tricky when you've got limited movement. So you could set up macros so that when you just press the key once, it basically registers as mashing the key many times. So that can be really helpful. Then there's also like mini keyboards as well. So keyboards that can literally fit in the palm of your hand. Again, kind of limiting the amount of movement that you have to do. Obviously, keyboards do require a certain level of mobility, but yeah, there are options within that. Similarly with mice, then there's all sorts of different options. So this is like a high-tech gaming mouse again. It's huge and there looks like a transformer that's got stuck. It's probably again one of the least accessible, really. Then you've got other options as well. So you've got a trackball mouse that you could use, makes it much easier than actually moving the whole mouse. All you have to do is move the wheel, the ball rather. Then we've got like small mice. So this is the type that I use. Not exactly this one, but very similar in that it's quite small, can easily fit within your hand, and it's quite just lightweight, so it's very easy to move. This is the cube mouse, which is even smaller and not particularly ergonomic, and I'm not sure, I haven't actually tried this myself, but I know some people with Duchenne do use it and have said that it works well for them. So it's about finding the right thing for you, I think. So we've also got various controllers. So this is the Steam controller, kind of old style Nintendo controllers that you can plug in via USB. There's a whole range of options, and then if you get another device like this is a Switch controller, so actually integrates using switches on a PC. So you could use absolutely any kind of switch you can think of. So something like a wire that you flick, or a switch that goes around your finger, or an easy press button. Any of these you can just link into a switch box like this. There's a few different types around. So in terms of the software available, I mean, I'm not going to give an exhaustive list here because it's absolutely huge and it's continually evolving. New programs are being developed to do different things. But just to give you a bit of an overview of what they can do, so you can get programs that allows you to use specific mouse movements to press a certain key. So you can set it up so that if you move the mouse into a certain square on the screen, I mean, imagine that the screen is split up into a grid and you moved it into a certain mouse into a certain position, then you could set that so that was registered as pressing Q or E or something. In terms of using that to control racing games, for example, then you could basically set it so that when you move the mouse left, then the car that you're controlling would go left and right, it would go right. So that would be that could be really quite useful. You can also use a joystick to control the mouse or keyboard. So pretty much, any input device you can think of, there's often a piece of software or a way to actually integrate that. There's various programs that can do this. Some of these can do more than just what's listed here. So GlubPie, for example, that could also integrate Wii remotes into control devices for the PC. But one thing that's really useful that someone's shown it using is speech recognition to control different key presses and mouse movements. So if you imagine you're playing a first-person shooter, then you could add a bit of speech recognition into that. Doesn't mean you have to control everything by speech. I mean, you can use these things to a bigger or lesser degree. So, for example, one thing I've thought I haven't tried yet is to use speech recognition in first-person shooters to change and select weapons. So often, you need to use the mouse wheel, or you need to select from 1 to 9 in order to change the different weapons. Whereas if you could actually set that to speech recognition, that would eliminate quite a few of the buttons that you need to press. Also means that slows me down in first-person shooters, is trying to find the right weapon, because I can't have 10 different keys that I press to get a different weapon. So if I could set that to speech recognition, I think that would be really good. You can also, with some of these software, again with AutoHotkey, there's so much more that you can do with this, but you could create combination key presses, or you could use single keys to control key combinations. So, for example, when you press E, then it could register as Shift and E rather than E. The way I think it could be useful is the other way round. So, actually, a lot of the games, they don't let you use combination key presses for different controls. So, one thing with playing World of Warcraft that makes it really easy, with the small keyboard that I've got, then I can use the Z key, the Shift Z, the Alt Z, the Control Z, and do that for the whole row of 4 keys that I've got, using the keys to the left. And it just means it reduces the movement that you've got to make, and the number of individual keys that you need to have available is reduced, basically, by using these combination key presses. Then you can also use a range of different switches to control the mouse or keyboard. So again, from the previous page, that switch controller, any switch that you can use could control any movement on the mouse or keyboard. And then if you want to go even further than that, as you're losing ability, there's something called the kinetic mouse, which uses the Kinect sensor from the Xbox. You used to be able to get a separate one for Windows, but now I think you can buy an adapter which uses the Xbox Kinect sensor. You can plug it into a PC but use it on Windows, basically. And then the kinetic mouse actually allows you to use facial movements to control the mouse and keyboard. So, here you got blinking. You can put raising your eyebrows, or moving the side of your mouth, and blinking and winking, and anything that you can do with your face, basically, you can turn into a control input. So then literally you don't have to be able to move anything other than your face. So there really is support for anyone, all up and down the kind of spectrum in terms of your level of mobility, which is really encouraging for all of us, because we know that, however much we may deteriorate and our muscles may get weaker, then we can still always play games, which I think for a lot of us is really important in kind of our general quality of life. Anyway, that's a very kind of brief overview of PC gaming, but there are all sorts of programs that you can use, and you can script and code in some of these as well, so you can do things that others haven't even thought about doing. So there's a whole range of things to use. All right, great. So yeah, I mean, there are lots of different things that can be used. I think sometimes it might be a bit overwhelming. You don't know where to begin. So another thing that's useful is kind of organizations that exist to help disabled people to actually game. And so we've got a few examples of that. I'm going to hand over to Vivek again now. So let's crack on.
Okay, so earlier I was talking about accessible gaming organizations that make gaming accessible for many disabled gamers. I've already talked about Reba, but I found another company called Special Effects that has similar jobs to Reba, but they're more specific, and they've got a range of accessible equipment to try out, which sounds very good. And also able gamers. They have written like a comprehensive document on the best accessibility practices that the gaming industry may need to follow, and also this evil controllers. This company isn't specifically for disabled people, but it's for the esport players, so professional gamers. But what I found is they have placed 2 to 3 buttons on a controller that you can remap, so you've got 4 extra buttons, which is very handy.
Okay, and one of our trustees, John Ashby, has actually had some experience of working with Special Effect, and they've helped him a lot to get him back into gaming again. So just going to hand over to John to tell you more about that.
My name's John, 32 years old, and have Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy. So as I got older, my muscles get weaker, to the point where I can no longer use a controller. I found them by searching through Google. I watched some of the videos from what they'd done before. Again, I thought, yeah, they could possibly get me gaming again. Special Effect helped me put together a setup using a mini joystick and light touch switches and the ability to use my voice to control certain bits of the game. I really wanted to be able to play Grand Theft Auto 5, and I'm also into the racing games as well. I'm most proud of winning my first online race against other people from around the world on them 4 to 5. Because I'm not a very good driver. But on that one, I actually won. Games are a big part of my social life. It's given me more chance to meet new people and game with them online. I'm able to join in with my friends to play games that they've been playing, and ones I never thought that I could. Until I got these switches. I really enjoy games with my brothers. Keep you entertained and have a laugh. It made my life a lot better. Yeah, they've been really brilliant.
Right, so yeah, thanks to John there. That's really quite encouraging, actually. Particularly when we all know that our muscles can deteriorate, and but yeah, even when you're getting a fair bit older, then there's still things that can be done to actually get you gaming. Okay, so we're going to have a look now a bit more widely at disability in gaming, and thinking about that in terms of the actual like game design as well now. So let's continue.
Yeah, so I'm going to focus a little bit on disability characters in the game storytelling, because there's a lot of disabled people in games, but rarely are they disabled. Or if they are disabled, they're usually non-playable characters, or just someone that helps the game player, or they kind of always assume that disabled people are weak and they need protection. Or sometimes they go completely the opposite way and kind of replace the whole body with magical technology. So the disabled person has been practically superhuman, which isn't very realistic. So my favorite game, Mass Effect, they've got a character called Joe Camarero who he has brittle bone disease. But he's the best fighter out there, and nobody can beat his skills, and he's not talking about himself like he's disabled, just that he's like everyone else, which is very interesting. Yes, so characters and the future. I've just done a little bit of research on this just to kind of see what the future games are like that, and kind of the new thinking maybe that's out there. There's quite a few games coming out about mental disorders like depression. And then there's also one about how psychological illnesses can alter reality. So yeah, I think there's some interesting news out there.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. And so now, one good way to really get game development companies to start thinking about disabled gamers is for more disabled people to become game developers. And on that note, I'd like to just pass over to Saul, one of our members who is studying software development. He's 16 and at college and big into gaming. So yeah, over to Saul.
Hello, my name is Saul, and I'm very interested in gaming. My favourite games are Overwatch and The Elder Scrolls Online. I am currently at Leighton Sixth Form College, studying a Level 3 Software Development BTEC, which includes software design, which I'm using Visual Basic and C# to design the software. I am also learning about IT systems, about how to install the OS and everything through using a Raspberry Pi. I had a trip to New York and I went to the Microsoft store and I got to play with a virtual reality headset, the HTC Vive, and it was really exciting. As part of my course, I have gone to an independent games developer for work experience. They have taught me to use Game Maker, and they made me use Twine, which is a game that creates text-based games, which instead of graphics, it has words. I learnt from the work experience that to make an independent game, you need crowdfunding from sites such as Kickstarter. I have also learnt about how to travel to work as a disabled person, and that the Jubilee line is mostly accessible. And what is the best bit about the work experience is that I'm learning from professional game developers and what it's like to work at a game development company. Soul's Chill top tips. Firstly, you need to get skilled up. Find courses you need, like GCSE computer studies if you want to go into computer game development. And it's good to pick a BTEC or an A-level. If you want to be more of a mathematical computer guy, then you should do computer science A-level. But if you want to be a game developer, I would recommend you do a level 3 IT BTEC, which teaches you the more complicated stuff and the programming. And make sure you have a CV to show your employers what amazing stuff you've done. Like, for example, I used the fact that I was a head boy and spoke at a European conference for inclusion. And you need to tell employers up front that you are a wheelchair user when you are getting interviewed, so they know they have to have a lift and have to have a disabled toilet if you're going to work for them. You have to be persistent and nag at them really nicely to say, is everything ready the week before you're meant to go in? So they have time to prepare. And never give up. Soul out!
Well, thanks, Saul. That's great. Great to hear that, and good luck with the course. Absolutely. But yeah, no, I'm hoping to kind of open this out now so people can submit questions. And in the meantime, I just want to say thank you again for everyone for joining us. Anyone for any questions? Okay, so there we go. We've got a question of how can you start gaming? Well, I mean, I guess it depends what stage you're at, really. In terms of whether you've played games before and you want to get back into them. In which case, you know, think about why, you know, what's stopping you playing games? Is it, you know, a certain lack of ability to control? In which case, then maybe you first need to look at what kind of equipment and software might exist. Yeah, just go from there. I mean, I guess it also depends on you finding something that you really want to play. And you know, there's so many different types of games out there. It depends whether you're looking for something slow or fast paced. And then yeah, figuring out a way to control it, basically. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Saul asks, are we in contact with companies who might need advice? Just trying to think. I think that's something that we're not so well connected with, but I think, you know, there are a lot of organizations out there that do need they might not realize they need advice, but they really do, in terms of making gaming more accessible. So I think that maybe that's some work that we need to do, is to look at how we can actually approach and liaise with the companies as well. Can Xbox Connect? A question from Ronan McCann. Can Xbox Connect use facial expressions to control Xbox One? That's a good question. I think, I mean, it can where it's built into the game, but as far as I'm aware, there isn't something that can integrate it across different games. I would have to kind of look into that more, but maybe that's a question we can kind of explore and add. We'll be putting this webinar up on YouTube, and maybe we can add the answer in the comments when we've kind of ruled that out for sure, whether it's something that can be done. And what is Milan Patel says, what is that Palm keyboard you use called, John? Yeah, so the gaming keyboard that I use is the N52TE, the mini keyboard. yeah, that's the Tormach mini keyboard, Tormach, that I use, or I used to use when I could still move my hand enough, but after a while I wasn't even able to use that, so I had to go back to the smaller one. The Kinect for the PC, I mean, it's just the Xbox Kinect sensor, but there's an adapter that you can get to use that with Windows, and they used to sell a separate Kinect for Windows sensor, but I was reading up the other day, they don't sell that anymore, but they do sell an adapter, so you just get one that's used for the Xbox, and you just get an adapter to actually plug that into a PC. But yeah, really great questions, and yeah, anything that we can't answer now, we'll certainly do our best to find out and add to a kind of resource that we're developing around accessible gaming. Well, I think that looks like that might be it for the questions. So we will, as I said at the beginning, this is like our first webinar, but we're definitely planning to run a lot more. We may come back to the subject of accessible gaming if there's more that we find out, but we very much also want to be running webinars on all sorts of things that affect adults living with Duchenne, and kind of just, it's a good opportunity for us to share our tips and advice about how to do that. So anyway, thanks very much everybody for coming, and do check into our Facebook page and like our Facebook page so you can follow us and get all the latest updates for DMD Pathfinders and what we're doing. We're always very keen to hear back from people about their experiences and what they want to know. So thank you all, and yeah, we'll see you the next time.